תסבבוני כלבים, עדת מרעים הקיפוני, כארי ידיי ורגליי. כארי כארי כארי
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani? My God, why have you forsaken me? For dogs have surrounded me, a band of evildoers have encompassed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments amongst them, and for my clothing they cast lots. They pierced my hands and my feet.
כארי
They pierced my hands and my feet.
כארי
In Psalm 22, we have these words. For dogs have surrounded me, a band of evildoers has encompassed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divide my garments among them. And for my clothing they cast lots. So clear are the prophetic words that modern liberals like to say, well, obviously the New Testament writers were just ransacking the Old Testament, making this whole story up. So clear are these prophetic words. Now we as Christians and Muslims, you can't join with the liberals and question the existence of prophecy. Not if you're going to continue to believe that Muhammad is prophesied in the New Testament, can you?
Psalms 22 ends the whole story. Psalms 22, originally about David, which John Calvin admits, does not say they pierced my hands and feet. That is a later Christian forgery. Folks, think about this. Matthew, who was quoting so many alleged Old Testament fulfillments of Jesus, like Hosea 11, where he chopped off half the sentence, do you not think this would be the first passage the New Testament would have quoted in order to let the Jews know that the Messiah has to be crucified? Yet not one book of the New Testament quoted this passage, the clearest passage in the whole of the Old Testament that the Messiah is going to get crucified. Do you think Matthew looked at this and said, although this text says they pierced my hands and feet, clear prophecy of Jesus, I cannot be bothered to write this in my gospel for all these Jews to see? The reason being is because that text did not exist in that form at that time. The original Hebrew says ka'ari, that means like a lion, they came at my hands and feet.
כארי כארי
How come? What games are you people playing?
If you read the Psalms, the verse before this and some verses after, David's likening his enemies to animals like bulls and lions, etc. And David's at the start of the Psalms wondering, where is the help of God? Because my enemies are coming close to killing me, and yet he still hopes that God will save him. And in verse 24 of this Psalms, David praises God for rescuing him. So if Psalms 22 is a foreshadowing of the Messiah, then that means the Messiah was also rescued by God. So far from being a crucifixion psalm, it's the substitution theory psalm.
Want to see another thing that doesn't work? Saying that the Psalm 22, they pierced my hands and my feet, is a later Christian addition. That doesn't work either. Not only are there a dozen medieval Masoretic texts that say pierced hands and the feet, there is a specific scroll. It is 5-6 Hev PS from Nahal Hever, predating the Christian church, that in Hebrew says, pierced my hands and my feet. So we were told it's a later Christian edition. We have a manuscript that reads it in the Hebrew prior to the time of Christ. How can it be a later Christian edition? The reality is it is a very early reading, and you can find it in a number of those streams, and that's exactly where it comes from. That's why I read it. Not only are there a dozen medieval Masoretic texts that say pierced hands and the feet, not only are there a dozen medieval Masoretic texts that say pierced hands and feet. There is a specific scroll. It is 5-6 Hev PS from Nahal Hever, predating the Christian church. Predating the Christian church.
Nahal Hever, which is a later text from the Bar Kokhba period from 132 to 135, in an area called the Nahal Hever Caves, which is, let's say, 15 kilometers from Qumran. We have a text there. And in that text there, the Yud could possibly be constructed as a Vav.
The ordinary people, poor people, they don't know what's going on. What game is being played? Who knows?
So Dr. White said that we shouldn't reject the prophecies in the Bible, and I'm using ink. I didn't reject no prophecy. Even Psalms 22 proves my point. I've got the manuscript, the fragment that Dr. White was talking about, the Nahal Hever manuscript or scrap. It actually does not read dog, as Christians claim. In order to get that word, you have to get the letter Aleph out of it. You have to take a letter out to get the word that Christians claim is pierced. So that actually proves my point that you've got no Hebrew manuscript. And just to confirm that more, in the books, academic paper, Psalm 22:17, circling around the problem again, it says this, Ka'aru, which is not a word in the Hebrew language, it's not a word, but when the Aleph is omitted, becomes dig. So you have to take a letter out to get the Christian reading. So since that letter's there, it doesn't mean pierce my hands and feet. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Are you familiar with the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Yes.
Are you aware of scroll 4Q Samuel A, which is a Hebrew manuscript, the oldest Hebrew manuscript that we have, dating to about 200 BC, that says they pierced my hands and my feet. So to say that there is no Hebrew manuscript extant at the time of our Lord Jesus is to be in error. Thank you.
What I'm going to say now, I haven't got a source with this with me because it's very easy to respond to and anyone can verify this. The Dead Sea Scrolls version of Psalm 22, the actual key word in question has missing letters, so you cannot get the word pierce with missing letters there. So how can you say it reads pierce when some of the letters are missing from there? That's why James White himself never appealed to the Dead Sea Scroll, he appealed to the Nahal Hever scroll.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
If you write down 4Q Samuel A of the Dead Sea Scrolls, the English translation by Peter Ackroyd, I believe, you can check that out. Thanks.
In the Dead Sea Scrolls, it says Karu, they pierced.
That's not correct. And not only, you didn't check.
I didn't.
You did not. That's not possible because it does not exist in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Psalm 22 does. Listen, sweetheart. Listen to me, sweetheart. Just listen to me. I'm not trying to embarrass you, God forbid. I make mistakes all the time. The Dead's the facts are facts. You know. Yeah. So. The Psalm 22 simply is not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, maybe they'll find another piece of pottery where it's in. I'm not saying it can't be found. It isn't.
Okay, one of the problems we have here is that the ancient form of Hebrew is written differently than it is today. Alepphs are considered to be semi-vowels. and therefore it is a matter of interpretation. The fact of the matter is that that reading has Masoretic documentation in the medieval period that goes back to the period of Christ, and so it's not some later Christian addition. It is able to be found there, and there's really no reason to be arguing about it because the data is so very clear. I'll stop right there because I'll make comments later about the sources of the information that we're using.
And regarding Psalms chapter 22, my question still remains, if this text read, "They pierced my hands and feet," all these other proof texts that the New Testament quotes, and the clearest one, Matthew looked at this and said, you know, this is the clearest text I got, but I don't feel like this is important enough for me to write in the New Testament to prove to Jews that Jesus must be crucified. That does not make sense at all. The only reason Matthew didn't quote this is because the text didn't exist in the form that the Christians forged it.
Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me?
The only reason Matthew didn't quote this is because the text didn't exist in the form that the Christians forged it. It does not say pierced, as I proved. In order to get the word dog, they have to take a letter out the word, and the very manuscript that Dr. White alluded to has the word, the letter aleph in it, which means it's supposed to Jewish understanding of ka'ari. It's only that the yod got elongated into a vav, but the word's still the same word. Otherwise, ka'aru doesn't mean nothing in Hebrew.
They pierced my hands and my feet. They pierced my hands and my feet. So clear are these prophetic words.
Yet not one book of the New Testament quoted this passage. The clearest passage in the whole of the Old Testament, because the text didn't exist in the form that the Christians forged it. Christians forged it. Christians forged it.
Come on, explain. You are cheating somebody. How come? How come? What games are you people playing? What games are you people playing?
قل يا أهل الكتاب لا تغلوا في دينكم غير الحق ولا تتبعوا أهواء قوم قد ضلوا من قبل وأضلوا كثيرا وضلوا عن سواء السبيل.
سبحان الله والحمد لله والله أكبر.